Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Back after spring break, Tate, winter sports in the books. But in basketball, we were shooting for the stars, falling into the clouds. Lots of big news. Now, Mr. Producer, I know the big news for you is that Pitino is going to St. John's. I know that you're a big Rick Pitino fan, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Williamson County athletics and basketball. Fairview boys, first trip in the 66-year history of the school, which we talked about before spring break. And then Independence boys making it all the way to the state championship game.
Yeah, shoot for the stars. If you come up short, you might like where you land, and I think that's exactly what happened with both of them. Very cool story. Would like to have gotten a gold ball or 2 gold balls, but
Nice.
a silver ball in basketball, pretty strong. Hadn't been done, well, never before, right? Or no, Brentwood has been a runner-up.
Franklin in 89.
Well, a silver ball.
Oh, silver ball,
yeah,
yes.
silver
yes.
ball. Right.
Second runner-up.
Second runner-up we've had, and then there's only been 1 gold ball. So that's pretty tall company right there. And then Fairview, I think Coach McCoy said it best. We got really good things going on at Fairview. I love that he is an alum of the school, and he took them there. That guy loves Fairview, man, as does Coach Hughes and many others there. So very cool story for them. We're not in the excuse-making business, but would have loved to have seen what they could have done if they had all the bullets in the revolver.
Well,
no excuse, but I think it would have been pretty fun to watch.
It would have been, there is no excuse, right? And he would say that himself. It's part of life. But there's nothing wrong with going, dang, what if?
Yeah.
Jack Estes, Mays McCoy not playing in the state tournament. Here's what was and the Murphy Center was on fire. They were down 21. They ended up losing 63-60 to a brand name, Chattanooga Brainerd.
Especially in basketball.
It's a pretty good brand.
Yes.
Down 21 in the fourth quarter. They're down 19 with 2:07 to play. Brainerd subs, as you do. And I was even thinking, well, Fairview's probably going to say, they're not subbing yet. And then all of a sudden, it got down to 3. At 59-40, they score 16 straight points to cut it to 59-56. Nathan Dillingham, who had a pretty rough collision there at half court with Carter, who's like a big-time football guy. Boo Carter, great name.
And very well put together.
Very well put together. So Dillingham goes out for a while, but during that stretch, he hits 3 threes. He ends up with 27, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. And here's something that's not talked about either. And again, I'm not saying they should have called it or whatever, but Dillingham hits a 3 with about 5 seconds left that maybe could have had a foul called on it. He goes to the line, maybe cuts it to 2, and there's 5 seconds left. They didn't have any timeouts, so Brainerd never took the ball out.
Right.
But that place was buzzing, and I'm talking Fairview, no matter who you were pulling for, there was like this unbelievable reaction to that comeback that they had. It was buzzing in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's fun to watch, right? And
It's
then
incredible.
You get it to 59-56, and they're going, is this really about to happen? So no quitting them, and, that's all you can do, right? Leave it all on the court. And then you mentioned Nathan Dillingham going out, then comes back in. I mean, just everything about the effort and the performance, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you were sitting there watching that, you had to appreciate it and be rooting for it. So very cool. We talked about it. Anytime you make it to the state tournament, that's a heck of a season. So nothing to be ashamed of there for the Yellow Jackets, and can't wait to see them get back.
And I did want to mention, some other guys, some careers that have come to an end too. John Sawyer, big time in that run that they made in the postseason. He had 10 points in the game. Jacob Neal, 6 points, but did some other things. Grayson Estes only scored 4, but he did a lot of things that help you win. And I'll say this too, and I mean this is a compliment. If you looked out on the floor and said, based on how they look, who's the freshman? You would have said Jax McCoy. He looked like a freshman compared to everybody else. But I'm telling you right now, he didn't play like one.
Right.
Confidence and attacking, hit a couple of big threes. I know Coach is excited about having him back as well. So you don't get the sense that this is we made it for the first time in 66 and we're never going back again. They'll go back again.
They'll go back. You mentioned Estes and Sawyer. They don't make it there without them.
No.
They don't. So you're right. Hate to see those careers end. And I've always said this. If you don't look like a freshman as a freshman, probably not very good, because that means you're probably going to look the exact same way when you're a senior. So we want Jax to look like a puppy dog. And hopefully he's not even shaving yet.
He played well. He really did.
Yeah.
And the thing about that game, the thing that stood out to me from the jump, they didn't look anxious to me.
Yeah.
What threw them off a little bit is when Dillingham went out, because they're like, there's like another dude out. What are we going to do? But it wasn't. I didn't think they looked rattled at all.
No,
they really didn't.
Was the coach? Did he seem good sport about it? Was he mad that they didn't sub and then?
No, what's he going to say? It was 63-60.
Right.
And no, he said.
No, I mean that they didn't. Yeah.
No,
and then the comeback happens.
No, he wasn't at all. I think he totally, and he had to put them back in.
Yeah.
And by the time he did, it was like, it might be too late. Let's talk 4A. Independence, again, Coach Wilkins and his squad, congratulations, making it all the way to the championship, which leads us to this week's gym. Second trip in the school's history, 2017, the team with Grayson Murphy, led by Coach Greg Glass, they caught fire, I would say, the last week of the regular season. That continued all the way to the semifinals. One thing about that team people don't remember, in the first round, they knocked off a Bearden team that ends up winning it a couple years later. That team went 3 straight years. That first, they were all sophomores.
Right.
Indy beats them, then the next year they go semis, and then the next year, as I got to...
A good friend of mine caught him a couple years too late.
I got to see it up close and personal that senior year. And by the way, that Pember that was on that team was probably their second or third best player. He was a player of the year for UNC Asheville in their conference this year. So anyway, not that I have any PTSD from it, but, a little bit.
A little bit. What was his name? Quez Glover?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that guy.
You have nightmares, that guy. But that was a great Independence team. You're right. They did. They caught and with a that one was a really good team that jumped on a great player's back, and he, as Hulk Hogan said that one time, he backstroked him to safety. Man, it was watching Murphy carry that team was fun. The other guys were good players, but you know what I'm saying. Like sometimes you got good teams, a lot of good players. This one they had a great player, and they jumped on his back and all knew their role. And
Montgomery's obviously one of those players that we talk about, but they don't do it if he's by himself.
I agree.
There's some other dudes, in particular in the tournament.
Yes.
I felt like Matthew Witt went to another level for them. Josh Owens played great all year. And Tylen Lewis in the tournament, he didn't play like a sophomore.
No.
I thought that last game, Overton could kind of match him with some experienced guys. But that quarterfinal and semifinal, you could argue that Tylen was the best player on the floor. So I know Coach is excited about having them back. It starts off with a 66-32 win over Blackman. I mean, anytime you beat a Blackman team, and I know it wasn't one of their best teams, but they're going to play tough, all those things we talked about. It was 6-5 at the end of the first. Indy was up, and you kind of felt the nerves of the state tournament from both of them. But after that, floodgates open. They're up 19, or they outscore them 19-7 in the second quarter to go up 25-12. Now Blackman's got to play a little bit.
Right.
And once you start doing that, forget it. Montgomery, 24 points. Tylen, 12 points, 4 steals. Witt, 11 points, 8 rebounds. And here was the thing that I thought was exciting for them. They were only 4 of 14 from three. It wasn't like it was all dependent on shooting threes. Indy could shoot the three. They proved in that game they didn't have to hit 15 threes to win a game. Only hit 4, but then they just rolled in that second half.
Yeah, 66 points, and they only went 4 for 14 from three-point range. I don't think many would have seen that coming. So, and I don't. Hey, is this the best Blackman team Coach Wortman's ever had? Probably not. It doesn't matter. You score 66 points against them, and it was well known they're going to try to slow it down. Now, again, you mentioned they got behind, and so then they had to start playing a little faster. But still, you score 66 points against Blackman, and you're not hitting threes. You played really, really well.
Let's move to the semifinals. To me, this is the one that really got people's attention for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
They beat Memphis East 78-58. So Memphis East, just a little history lesson. 8 state titles and an additional one that was vacated.
Who was the head coach? The guy at Memphis?
Hardaway.
Little Penny?
Yeah. Little Penny. That one was taken away from him. So
little off strip. You know, the TWAA doesn't really like to do that. For them to go in and strip, I know you've processed this in your own brain. For them to go in and strip and take that thing back, what does that tell you about how egregious the infractions were that were committed?
By the way, that's a great Wilco word, egregious.
Thank you. I mean, boys, there ought to be a Netflix documentary on that one. Maybe we can get Creed and Lance to do a Wilco documentary on that. But for the TWAA to go and actually take that thing back, holy cow. Must have been some serious crimes.
It wasn't just giving out free sweats is what you're saying.
No. It wasn't letting somebody ride home on the bus.
So let's talk about this. So into the first quarter, East is up 16-13. 22-8 run in the second quarter for Independence. They go up 35-24 at the half. Here was the most impressive thing to me about the game. Second half, Memphis East, and they had to do it. They're like, okay, we're going to really try to speed them up. We're going to press them a little more.
Yeah.
We're going to, and you think, okay, maybe that's going to hurt Indy. Mistake.
Yes.
19-13 run in that third quarter, and then they dominated that game. Braden Buck, the junior, he shot 11 threes. He hit 6.
That's huge.
6 threes, ends up with 20 points. Montgomery, another 24 points. Listen to this stat line from Lewis. 9 points, 11 rebounds from the point guard, 7 assists, and only 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's nice night, Tylen. And Witt, 18 points, 9 boards.
In the semifinals of the 4A state tournament against Memphis East, whose pressure usually swallows up most people. But, you know, like I said, I've seen Jet and Jalen through the years play many a basketball game. Those two, I know, I'm sure the other ones too, those two have seen, that's what they see in travel basketball all the time.
Right.
That pressure didn't scare them. They've played 300 games against pressure like that. Agreed?
Right.
Yep.
Tylen and Jet have seen it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they've seen it maybe more than 300 games.
You said Jalen.
Oh, did I say Jalen? No.
Brothers.
That's his brother.
Jaden, maybe.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Dad's watching. I mean, he's
No, I know.
a fan of the show. It was just a slip.
Maybe a typo on the script.
Listen, we're not doing close-ups. We don't have time.
I'm not afraid to take one for the team, but
Does that really happen? It did. I appreciate
teleprompter man's getting fired.
Hey, here's our teleprompter.
Don't give it away.
All right, let's move
Tylen,
on.
I apologize, brother.
Well, but I got on to say 4A state championship. Now let's talk about this. So you go into this game. If I'm not,
Okay, real quick, and then we're moving on. I'm assuming that's another first. Has there ever been a Wilco team beat Memphis East?
well, you know, it's funny. People were saying, Brentwood, they lost to East in the final. They lost to Hamilton.
All right, I was there.
Wasn't East.
Correct.
They beat Blackman in the first round. Who was that semifinal win for Brentwood that year? I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
I don't think it was East. I really don't.
I don't either.
Not many people beaten East. And by the way, those 8 state titles and the one vacated, so that's 9. That's all since 1979.
Right. I don't even know if it was around back then. That Hamilton team had the Lawson brothers.
Oh, they were good.
Yeah.
And they were 16 and 15 because they had to vacate some
Regular season wins.
which messed up their opponents in the tournament. They're like, now they're going to be a lower seed in the tournament.
They were the bottom seed. It was what a joke.
That might be the clown show of the decade.
Oh, and then they went to Wooddale, and then our man, Coach Wilkins, got to see them there, right? A couple of them, the younger one. Yeah, they did. They went to Wooddale.
I'm talking about, you talking about Mark Wilkins? I don't think he wasn't at South Gibson yet.
He wasn't? Oh, okay.
I think so.
Okay. I think he was.
You do?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we've talked about this.
We're
not simpatico today. Spring break. It doesn't matter. I don't think we've ever beaten East. That's huge.
Not many people have.
No.
So let's go to the final. So Overton had beaten East twice during the season. And East had beaten them. It's like they'd split.
Right.
So you're thinking, okay, it was matchups. The thing that, and Indy started off just stroking now. They hit 3 threes and like a minute and 17 seconds was gone. They're up 9-0. Great start to the game. The thing that impressed me about Overton, number one, they were well coached. They had good players, and they weren't rattled by that. It's matchups. So one of the things that Overton was able to do against Indy in this game is on the penetration, going to the basket, they didn't really have to help off. So everybody was able to stay with their man. So some of those wide open threes that Buck was getting on the penetration in those other games, he wasn't really getting in those games. To me, he was only open 2 or 3 times, and he hit both threes when he was open. So they just made it a little bit tougher with the way they could defend the perimeter. And they had a good post player too. But still, if you're talking about Indy and what they were doing, they jump out 19-14 at the end of the first. Memphis East has Overton has a good second quarter. They go up 32-28 at the half. But then the big difference, it's 32-30. It's early in the third quarter, and Witt gets his 4th foul. Houston Hicks came off the bench and did a great job for Independence the whole season. But they weren't going to do it with Witt on the bench, and they just really never could recover. And he had to sub him.
Right.
With 6.5 minutes to go, you got to take him out for some time period. And they just really, they weren't able to recover from that.
Then it got to double digits.
That's right. They fought back, but it's too much.
Right, too much.
That lead got up to 18 with 3 minutes to go, and I was thinking, well, I've seen this story. Maybe they can do what Fairview does. They cut it down a little bit, but ultimately couldn't get all the way back. Ends up being 69-57. Montgomery, 21 points. Josh Owens, 13 points. Didn't score a point in the semis and impacted the game like you wouldn't believe. Attempted 5 charges, 3 were called. I mean,
he's what we talked about. He's a glue guy, man.
And he's not that big. And I'm talking, he got plowed a couple of times. It wasn't one of those, he took it like a dude and guys coming down the floor and just nailed
Didn't even
him.
flinch.
No. Witt, 9 points, 8 rebounds, and then all-tournament team, which I thought was great. Montgomery and Lewis and Witt. Witt, obviously, the senior. Owens, a senior. But you look up, 33-5. I'm sure that's the most wins in the school's history for a basketball team. Fairview, 26-7. Independence has a lot of guys coming back.
Oh, my gosh.
I think they're going to be one of the favorites.
Got to be. 2 of them on the all-tournament team coming back in 4A.
That's right.
I mean, that doesn't happen very often. And we talk about it in football. It's the same thing in basketball, 33-5. I mean, here they are as late as last week, in March. They're still practicing. Think about all those practices that all those guys are getting while everybody else is already with the uniforms and bins. I mean, it's almost like having a real spring practice.
Plastic bin time.
Bins.
I feel like we need to have a plastic bin segment.
I think the plastic bin segment of the week, I think it'd be fantastic. But you got to do it.
We started the plastic bin segment back when I was at Franklin, but we won't talk about the particular time.
Correct.
It was, kind of a shout out.
It's kind of in the locker room thing.
Homage to it. So as I look at the stats here, a couple things stood out to me. Independence had only 7 assists. So in other words, they weren't getting those kickouts like they were. And then a lot of this with Witt being out of the game. Overton, 40 rebounds, Independence, 27. And the thing that's interesting about that, it's not always about size. Overton shot 25 threes, so that's going to be longer rebounds, and they had that great speed on their guards were really good.
Yeah.
One of their guards had 13 rebounds.
And go back to the rebounds and look who led Independence in that game in rebounds.
Or Tywin Lewis.
That's pretty strong, man.
They only had 11 turnovers. See, and that's another thing. When you look at Indy's stats, that rebounding one's not great. But they had a lot of winning kind of stats. Like, we probably – that means you've played a good team. Memphis Overton was really good.
Really good.
Nothing to be ashamed of. We're proud of independence. And what's funny about it, I think we all know this as coaches, and you talk to coaches all the time, you always want one more unless you win it. If you don't make it, you're like, I just want to make it once. And then you get beat. Well, I want to win one once.
Right.
Get beat in the semis. If we could just make the final. Right. It's not like they felt like they blew it or Overton was really good. But when you make it there, you always want a little bit more. And I know Coach Wilkins and that team, they're feeling it. But they're going to be hungry coming in next year. It is going to be a fantastic league next year.
Oh, without a doubt.
The 8 Wilco teams, it's going to be awesome. And then we've got Fairview, our 9th team. Coach Wilkins already told me, back on the schedule, Fairview. Coach McCoy loves it.
He should. I mean, it gets them ready. Gets
them ready.
You cannot tell me that wasn't part of how they overcame the adversity that they had. Go on the road in the sectionals, beat a tough South Gibson team. They were used to seeing tough teams. If he had gone out and, put the smack down on Hickman County or Adeletville Tigers or whoever.
Did you say Adeletville?
Yeah. It's in Hickman County. I got a great story on that. I'm not going to take up the time, but it's pronounced Adeletville, and I know that for a fact. But anyways.
Ron, our former band director at Franklin, David Adelet.
That's right. Well, Ron, his name is pronounced Adelet.
Right.
But his father was even more stubborn than Ron and said, my name's pronounced Adelot, but it's Adelet. So anyways, that's why it always threw me off. But it's Adeletville. I learned that at his father's funeral. It was pretty neat. But yeah, man, I think they ought to. It's going to be great to watch all that. I wanted to ask you, I don't know what you do with it, but you just hate to see the boys' state tournament happen over spring break. I mean, can you imagine? We talked about it. The Indy Nation would have been, because it just is. They do everywhere they go. Look at the sectional games, right? And Blackman, did they bring a pretty good student body?
Yeah, because they left school.
Can you imagine?
It would have been a joke.
It would have been the most full that building has been in as long as I can remember it, and I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know.
We don't.
You're in a position of leadership.
Yeah, we need to get away from that, honestly.
What do you do with it?
Well, in terms of announcing the dates of when they are, it's like the chicken and the egg, which one's first, and I could obviously find that out. But if we go to April, it's obviously going to be fine. But we've had that happen before where we've been out of school, but TSSAA, I can assure you, didn't like it because our crowds would have been even bigger.
Huge.
Than they were. And something else, I saw this stat. Of course, I'm biased towards Kentucky, one state champion. They have a 16 team, Sweet 16, and I saw the numbers the other day. So that's 15 games. And that's 5, 6 sessions, whatever it is. They had 99,000 people.
I don't doubt it.
Go to the state tournament. I was talking to Mark Reeves about it. The revenue was $1.7 million.
That's crazy. Oh, well, you see pictures of the crowds. I mean, it's...
Jeez.
I don't know. I mean, I know they have less teams. The private schools find a way to do it, to get done earlier than spring break. They are leaving money on the table, and we are, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but in this county, people go out of town for spring break, and they make those plans well in advance.
I feel a little momentum even amongst the coaches in basketball that you're going to see something's going to change in the postseason. The districts where there's, 4 teams in a 5-team district moving on. It's just something's got to give. I don't know if it's in 5 years we're like, remember we used to have a district tournament? You go straight to the region.
Yeah.
You do something with regional. Something's going to give. You can feel it because there's a lot of people that don't like it. And I say this as I was one of them. The 4-class thing happened because of the basketball coaches.
Correct.
And they would tell you they probably don't like it. Well, you created it.
Be careful what you ask for.
That's right. So,
and don't you think, watching it in football, watching it in other things, It ain't going to go back more than likely.
No.
Once you get it,
No.
You're not coming.
Well, because what happens is, and I get this, you want to be able to say as a coach that you've made it, and as a program, you've made it to certain levels. So it's interesting to me, and I won't mention the sport, but one of our coaches came to me when we went to 4 classes like, can't believe we're in 4 classes. We should have stayed 3. I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. But now the coaches in that same sport are kind of not happy about being together. And I'm like, you get addicted to being able to say, we made the region.
Right.
When really, what's it matter?
Right.
I mean, I get it, but to me, if the district's tougher, that means just winning the district means more.
That's right.
You can't tell me winning a 5-team district tournament means as much as winning an 8-team. I just don't believe it.
Not a bunch of the coaches I know. That's not what they're about.
And maybe it's two teams move on. I mean, I know it's not easy. It's really not easy. You want to give kids opportunities and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely watered it down. One thing it hadn't done, though, I'll say this. Once you get to the Final Four, those teams that were left are, you can't win one and trick anybody, I can promise you. And you can't make the final like Indy did and be tricking anyone. There's just no way.
No.
What Fairview had to go through. I'll tell you now, Fairview wins that first game, they might have made it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Brainerd got beat the next round 2 or 3. You don't know about the matchup, but you feel like they'd had a shot, for sure. Anyway, I did want to mention this because we're going to be full-fledged spring sports. A lot of great events that you love that'll be coming up. You like the track and field. You like some of those events. Hey, there's a great softball tournament that Coach Powell puts on there at Brentwood.
Yes.
That'll be coming up. But a couple things.
And they do a great one at Ravenwood and Franklin, too.
They do. A couple things I did want to mention on the baseball front. Nolensville Centennial, 2 of the best teams around, playing in a non-district game early on, non-district. 8-6, 2-run home run by Nolensville's Quentin Jenkins, a walk-off to win the game. Franklin, non-district, with the 7-6 win in 9 innings over Ravenwood. Independence has started off 7-0. Ben Cleaver, who has committed to Kentucky. The folks at Kentucky will be lucky if they ever see that guy.
Hey, and to get you jazzed up, you know well, but I do too. What a cool baseball stadium they've got at UK. So
it's really cool.
There's a good chance they're never going to see him. But
come on, Ben, do
if
it.
they do, he's going to enjoy playing in that.
Come on, Ben.
He's going to enjoy playing in that stadium.
I saw Kentucky swept. They swept Mississippi State in the series.
Oh yeah, they got it going. Think about the great players in baseball that have come through Independence. We keep talking about Fairview's got a lot of great things going on. Independence has been there, but Independence just seems like they're really hot right now in a lot of different areas.
They are. The Summit folks are going to be texting you.
That's okay. Hey man, I was here. I watched it. I remember when they got mad at Dr. Qualls because he was a Grayson Murphy, Greg Glass, Independence fan, all that. Hey buddy, when John Carter and Tylen, don't call me Jalen Lewis's older brother, were there, and Ty Carter, they were mad at that. Oh,
That's right.
Dr. Qualls, I don't know if he was doctor then, but he's the biggest Summit fan in the world. Da, da, da. Hey man, Dr. Qualls, he makes no bones about it. He likes whoever's on top.
I mean,
but
you can't talk about somebody's not winning. What are you going to talk about somebody that
he's a Kansas City Chiefs NFL fan. He's a Milwaukee Bucks basketball fan. No, Golden State Warriors basketball fan. He's a Georgia Bulldog fan. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, hey man, when Summit will get it back.
Of course.
We were talking a lot of Summit football just about 12, 14 months ago. So, anyways,
That's right.
Ben Cleaver, he's another just really standout baseball player, and what's ending up being a long line of them. I mean, you go back to Brian Miller, and obviously our man Hassel, the third man. He's got a chance to leave there as one of the best, if not the best.
Brentwood softball, I wanted to mention too. Marina Mason, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 14 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And that's something that Brentwood's kind of been missing.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
So I know Coach Powell.
When Coach Powell got here, kind of changed it. They were top dog in softball.
And now it's been
Taking a little dip. They're on their way back up.
been Summit, it's been
Pitching's been the weak spot, the weaker spot. They're getting that back. Watch out.
And how about our girl Rylan Smith? We said we needed to be on a K count. Who's out there for Nowensville? She's back for another year. The Western Kentucky commit. So I know they're excited about having her another year.
She needs an NIL deal with Special K cereal. She's got more Ks than a box of Special K.
If she gets that, you and I will be written up by the team last time for broken.
That's right. We can't do that, can we?
I think it's all in.
Or maybe like
I don't think you know anybody special.
if you go to Walmart, it's not Dr. Pepper, it's Dr. K.
Remember Dr. Was it something Thunder? Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, that was Mellow Yellow or Mountain Dew or whatever.
All right,
they don't even know what we're talking about.
No, they don't. Yeah. We're just having fun.
Hey man,
appreciate you being back for spring break. I know you had a trip. Hope that went well for you and the family.
Yep, everything went well.
Rested up, ready to
Rested
go.
up. Here's the great thing. Not only will we be talking spring sports full speed next show, the weather will actually start feeling like spring sports, not,
And maybe our favorite part of the spring.
19 degrees.
Maybe the favorite part of the spring for the two of us. We love spring fling, and in particular, we love the lady that helps host the track meet out there. I know she's looking forward to seeing us during the meet.
Oh, yeah. She's the cousin of our good friends at Gallatin. I think she was a graduate of Gallatin in 1972. But we can't wait to experience your hospitality and your charm and your warmth.
Who are you guys?
Get ready. We'll be down there. And checking out our man, Coach Tribune. We'll be there.
We'll be there.
And the Grade 8, that's an event that we are big. By the way, I saw our friend Miss Gabrielle from Centennial the other day in the weight room. I was over talking to Coach Moore. She is
Boutros.
Yeah.
Getting it done.
She's ready. She did not rest on her laurels in the offseason, I'll tell you that.
Looking for
We're gonna be really good in track again.
Can't wait. Tate, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.